This is a K-12 recording for preparing for the SAT and ACT tests for College 101. Today you will learn a little bit about the differences between the SAT and ACT tests, who should take the tests, how and when to sign up, some of the materials you will see on the tests, and how to prepare. So when you start thinking about the SAT and the ACT tests, these are college preparation tests, and you really want to start thinking about these tests in the spring of your junior year of high school. The reason you do that is because it gives you a chance to take it again in your senior year in the fall if you're not happy with your score, for example. It could be a good idea to take it more than once to better your score and to give yourself a shot of actually seeing the test on more than one occasion. Even though the questions are different, just taking it that one time might help you to feel more comfortable, for example. If you took the PSATs in high school, that might also be a reason why you should take the SATs, for example, because it is actually the practice SAT. Some of the things that you should also think about are the differences between the ACT and the SAT test, which we will talk about at a later slide. One of the big things just to think about is a lot of schools accept either test. There used to be a stigma where SATs were more common in the eastern part of the United States and ACTs in the western, but that is pretty much gone at this point. And so you really want to just take the test based on what your strengths are. Does everyone need to take the SATs or the ACTs? So what about my situation? Um, are you going to a four-year college, a two-year college, trade school, community college, or the military? Each of these things, um, each of these career paths will help you determine whether or not you need the SATs. Primarily, you will need to take these college entrance tests if you're going to a four-year college only. They are the ones that are going to be reviewing these kinds of scores. Most of the two-year schools, trade schools, community colleges, and military do not require you to take the SATs. If you are unsure and you're kind of debating between a couple different situations, and one of those choices is a four-year college, do take the SATs just to make sure that it's something that that you can that'll help you get into college. Also, double check those two-year schools and trade schools just to make sure that they don't need the SATs or ACTs for some reason. So when are the tests? The SATs, there's the link on the below the SAT link right there, and there's a link below ACTs that'll take you right to the website for the 2014-15 school year. It'll also list the days that you need to register by so you don't have to pay a late fee. Where do you take the SATs and ACTs? As an online cyber school that most of you will attend, we will not be offering the tests. You're going to have to sign up for your local school district most likely. So if there is an October SAT test, for example, when you go to collegeboard.com for your SAT sign up, you're going to put in your address and they're going to give you a list of choices on what are the closest sites. So maybe the high school that's right down the street from you, or maybe it's 20 minutes away. Usually a lot of the schools rotate their sites. So one school might have it that month and then another school down the street might have it another month. So once you sign up online, you're going to be able to choose the site that you want us to go to. What is included in these tests? In the SAT, there is three different sections. There's a critical reading section, a math section, and a writing section. In 2016, the SAT is doing a little bit of a revamp, and they're going to actually get rid of the writing section and do some changes to the reading and math, but they will still be part of the SATs. The ACTs, you'll notice, has one big thing that's much different than the SATs. It has an English, a math, a reading, and a science section. The science section being the one that is much different. So when you think about what tests should you take, you're going to want to start considering these reasons. The biggest one, again, being the ACT has a science reasoning test and the SAT does not. For example, if you're looking at an engineering degree, you're going to be using lots of science and you're going to be using lots of math. So most likely, if you're looking at engineering, you're going to be really strong on those subjects. So the ACT might be the test that you want to take. The ACT math section also includes trigonometry. So if you score well in that section, it's going to reflect better on your math abilities. The SAT test has more vocabulary than the ACT. The SAT is not entirely multiple choice. There is some open-ended questions in the SATs in the math section where you have to generate your own answers. The SAT has a guessing penalty. The ACT does not. We will talk about that here in a little bit. The ACT test, English grammar has English grammar on it, and the SAT does not. So how in the world do you study for these tests? If you took the PSAT, then again, that's the practice SAT test, then you're going to get a score sheet that tells you what you got wrong, and you can check the College Board website to go over some of the things that you need to study. Just to talk about the PSAT for a second, that would be a test that you would do at a local school district. Usually kids do it in their sophomore or junior year, and it's usually in the fall. So if you're interested in that, talk to somebody at your school to get you the way, to talk to who you need to talk to get that signed up. You can take practice tests. Personally, I think practice tests are the best way to study because you're going to familiarize yourself with the kind of questions on the tests. The College Board website, which again is SAT, has practice questions as well as the ACT website. You can get books at your local library, or you can actually buy them at your bookstore like Barnes and Noble. Um, Basically, one of the big sections in those is that in the SAT study guide, there are these big thick books and they have practice tests in them. So you can take sample tests to kind of get yourself looking at the kind of questions they're going to ask. So when you go to the test, you're not blindsided and you're very prepared. There's smartphone applications, so you can download on your iPhone a question of the day app, so you can just every day get one question. Every single day you're going to try and practice and get better and better. There's a free website resource. It's called I Need a Pencil, where you can do some free SAT prep. You can also register for a local SAT or ACT prep class. Sometimes those do cost a little bit of money, but they can be great resources. So if you do the online version, you can sign in with College Board if you're doing the SATs to take the practice test, and then you can print it or you can take it on paper so you can enter all your answers, and then they're going to give you a score report so you can actually see how you did. Again, they have answer explanations for every test question, some with some rationale and explanation. So you can also, when you register for any of the ACTs or SATs, you're going to create a student account and they're going to help you give all those free resources. As I mentioned before, the SAT has a guessing penalty, and it's a fractional guessing penalty where it's not, if you get one right, you get a point, and if you miss one, you lose a point. It's not like that at all. It's a fractional percentage of how many you miss. But for SAT, that's a big factor if you're a guesser or if you kind of eliminate answers. So we wanted to go over this for a second. Should you guess? For ACTs, you can guess without penalty, but SATs, sometimes you don't. So how can you tell? The best way to do this is to eliminate your answers. So if you're doing a multiple choice test and you are looking at 4 different answers, if you completely have no clue what the answer is out of those 4 choices, you think it could be any one of those answers, the best advice is to skip that question. Because if there's 4 choices, you have a 25% chance of guessing it right. So most likely you're going to miss it. But if you can eliminate choices, then you can get yourself a better odds on getting that question right, and sometimes it's best to guess. So for example, in this question, it says, based on the graph above, what is the percentage chance of rain for Tuesday? And I didn't even include the graph because I want you to just to think about the actual question. If you're thinking about a graph, there's no such thing as more than 125%. So B would be one that you could eliminate. What percentage chance of rain for a Tuesday on a graph? Iffy would not be a choice. So basically you've reduced your chances to A, 60% or D, 25%. So in this case, you've given yourself a 50-50 shot. So you should guess in this kind of case. If there's 4 choices and they were all under 100%, like 60, 70, 80, and 90, and you had no choice on eliminating and you had no idea, then you should skip that question. The night before the test, make sure you get plenty of rest. Don't go out until 2 a.m. with your friends. It is a long test. Set your alarm clock just because you want to make sure you get there in time. Make sure you're eating well, a good dinner, a snack before bed. Make sure you have a good breakfast. Make sure you have everything prepared the night before. If you're going to take a book to read, an extra pencil, your coat, calculator, a snack. On testing day, you have to bring a form of ID. So if you have a driver's license or student ID, sometimes at the cyber schools, the school can create you an ID, so make sure you contact somebody at your school if you have a question about that. Make educated guesses. Skip questions that you really can't answer if you're taking the SAT, for example. Limit your time on one question because that can make it where you kind of run out of time. Keep track of the time that the proctor is showing you. Use your test booklet as scratch paper. Mark the question in your book that you skipped, so if you need to have time to return, you can. Bring a number 2 pencil. Check your answer sheet. And just a couple free resources to wrap up. So if you want to download this PowerPoint, you can get some SAT resources. So official practice test, question of the day, ACT, you can get an online prep site, check that out. Again, questions of the day, another just more comprehensive practice question. Again, this has been a K-12 recording for College 101. Thank you very much.